Hi, I'm Jasper Pattendon at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. On the way in the next hour, we'll hear from Phil. We've got our match briefing, reflecting on that fantastic win at Burton in midweek and previewing the visit of Leyton Orient on Saturday. We'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield. We'll hear from the loanee who got his opening senior debut for the club on goal. I missed out the word goal. On his opening senior debut. What does that mean? Goal. The word goal was missing there. Gideon Codua, we'll hear from him very soon as well. We'll catch up with the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association Vice Chairman John D. Taylor joins us ahead of their 14th annual dinner, which is taking place on the 15th. Hope next year they keep the date the same, because that'll be the 15th on the 15th then. Much easier to remember. And also, with our focus on Wycombe Wanderers women, we'll hear from someone who has made the journey, the footballing journey, from Canada to America to Wycombe via Hounslow. We'll chat to Kayla Potter a bit later on as well. She's a Wycombe Wanderers women forward, and the word Christmas may be mentioned as well. More on that to come as well. But first, we caught up with Phil yesterday, so it was the day after the fantastic win at Burton on Tuesday night.
Yeah, great moment for Gideon Codua. Any first senior goal for anyone in their career, it's fantastic, real milestone. And to see him sort of after the game as well, just how pleased he was, and his phone was buzzing constantly. So yeah, it's a huge milestone for a young player. And even better, they could do it with us. We saw Carlton Cole with us on Saturday, who was here to check up on Gideon's loan. I'll say check up just to see how he's getting on. And he was really effusive with his praise about how Wycombe Wanderers are treated. Not just Gideon in his second spell here, but obviously Potsy last season as well. He got his first championship goal for Pompey. So, I think it's really important that the Premier League clubs come and keep an eye on their loanees and to see how they're getting on, checking in. And they've been really impressed by what they've seen. And Gideon underlined that last night. Great finish, wonderful assist from Josh, and hopefully the first of many.
And obviously Burton really battled as well, being at the bottom.
Yeah, although I think at the time of us talking, I think their manager's just been fired. So they were putting the effort in, but not quite getting the results. Look, no wins after 11 games is a really tough statistic for any manager. And they've had a huge amount of turnover in the summer. And we saw that in that team last night, sort of barely unrecognisable from the team of last season. And they've paid the price for that. But, Wycombe, they made it difficult at times as well, and credit to Burton for pegging Wycombe back twice. But I think the lads showed great character. Even when at 2-2, they still went and got the third. And it's great to see the quality off the bench once again. Frederick Dimmer and Gareth McCleary as a double sub in League One, I think is fantastic. And, the Burton defenders were getting tired by that point, and they got stretched, and the third came and we were able to see it out. So a really good result, and it adds to that sort of sequence of fixtures now that have really seen us propel us up the league since we lost the first two.
And Josh Scowen's performance, well worth mentioning as well.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It had all the hallmarks of a classic Josh performance, a crunching tackle in the 5th minute, which saw him booked, and then on the ball, just brilliant. And I think a lot of Wycombe fans initially were a little perturbed to see him further up the pitch, but he's really shown his value there in the last few games as well, like unlocking the door. The assist for Gideon was wonderful. If you've not seen it, I heartily recommend going onto Wanderers TV and seeing the highlights, because it was just perfect. And Gideon, still a bit to do for him, hit it first time and a great strike, but the assist was wonderful.
And really pleasing for the manager as well, the number of goals and taking the lead 3 times, but I guess he'd have been less happy with the conceding.
Yes, yeah, if you're going to concede 2, then it's always great if you can score 3. And we're averaging now over 2 goals a game, which is brilliant, especially now 11 games into the season. Obviously, we don't want to concede goals. I think it was 2 efforts on target for Burton Albion at that point. So yeah, it's something that will need addressing as the season moves on. But look, this is a team that's sort of developing and learning as they go. The fact that they're scoring and looking so dangerous, and the options up front are plentiful for Matt Bloomfield, it is a real buzz about the place as well. And talking to Matt after the game, he made a really interesting point about how the lads were feeling at half-time at 1-1.
We've got to be pleased. It's never an easy place to come, but we've not got a great record. I don't feel like over the last few years. I know we won at the end of the 21-22 season, but the last couple of years since I've been back, it's not been easy. So to come and get the win, especially away from home, got to be really, really pleased, mate.
Conceded 2, but it doesn't matter when you're free scoring.
Well, it does matter because we might not score the third another day, so we have to make sure we tighten up. But I think someone just told me that was their only 2 shots on target at that point, so it was a bit of an anomaly. It felt like that a little bit of a night. There was some fouls going either way, and they scored with not hardly any pressure, so on our goal. So it just felt a bit of a strange night. So for us to come away with 3 points and find that third goal, and the resilience and the character of the players. To keep finding another goal when we need it was fantastic.
You must be pleased as well with the changes. Everyone's responded and come in and shown good form.
Yeah, the boys are respecting it. They're really, really respectful of what we're trying to do, and they understand that it's not a drop in. There is certainly we need energy in our performances. We need energy in our play. So there's certainly in the 3 game weeks the need to rotate and keep the energy, especially at the top of the pitch. As we've spoken about before, and the boys that come in the team tonight had an impact, and then the ones that finished the game, they had an impact too. So we have to be pleased with the way they're dealing with that at this moment in time.
Let's roll it back to the first goal, and that's a lovely moment. Gideon Kodjia, first senior goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And the boys are celebrating with him in there. I hadn't put 2 and 2 together, and Bez just reminded me. So a lovely ball from Joshy, who I think just in incredible form at the moment. He's played one for the third goal as well. And Gids, we love him. Like, he's a great lad, Gids, and done great for us last season. We're really pleased to have him back. We know he's got loads to add to his game. He's learning all the time. We're trying to expose him to different situations, but he wants to learn, he wants to grow, and for him to get that here tonight was just a lovely moment for him.
And you also must be pleased again, second game in a row where the impact from the finishers, as you call them, has really paid dividends tonight.
Yeah, I think because we're really, really fortunate to have a strong squad, and the boys are buying into it, and they're supporting each other, and they're respecting, as I've said, the decisions that we have to make at the time. The energy on the pitch was good tonight. I actually felt like we could have been cleaner in loads of moments. We could have been more secure in some bits. So there's plenty still to work on, but the boys want to take on the information, and we have to now dust ourselves down and rest up, because we've got a really tough game against Orient. I think they won tonight, someone's just told me. So like Richie always does a very, very good job wherever he's been, and we know we've got a tough game to get ready for.
Dan Udo's claiming the goal, you agree?
Yes.
Good answer. And then finally back to Gideon. Carlton Cole was at Adams Park on Saturday. He's not been shy sharing his thoughts and warm feelings towards Wycombe Wanderers for what we're doing as a club for the young players of West Ham. Freddie Potts last season, Gideon Kodjia now in his second spell, and his first goal tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know my feelings on development and trying to help people. The buzz you get from seeing young boys develop, especially around the seniors that we have in the group. We're trying to help them. GMAC before the game tonight and during the game is trying to pass on his experience and help Gids. I'm a big believer in development and trying to be the best you can be and trying to improve and learn all the time. And so for us as a football club, to be able to welcome those players into our football club and to help develop them and see them really, really thrive, it's so fulfilling, mate. So I hope it continues to shine for us.
And also our own young players as well, developing too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point. I think it's when you get that balance between the seniors who are able to do it themselves. We're really so fortunate, mate. We talk about the younger boys, but we're so fortunate to have the seniors that want to pass on their experience, want to help those around them, and see those boys thrive. We've seen Jasper, we've seen Deck, we've seen so many of our own as well. Obviously Richard as well, like really come in and perform in the first team. So it's about exposing our own and developing our own. So it's just about working hard and trying to improve at every moment.
Fantastic to hear from the manager as always, and as you say, there's a real kind of feeling, isn't there, among the team that we talked about momentum in previous weeks, but to be 9 games unbeaten in the league is quite impressive. Yeah,
it's a great run. I think Port Vale are the only ones sort of this season who match us along with Manchester City. These are good things, and we need to enjoy these periods as well. You can't get through a whole season without picking up defeats, and hopefully, we can continue for a few more games at least, or hopefully many more games. But the form's good. They're playing well. It's great to watch, I think. Watching them come together as a squad, how they're all running for each other, how the squad members are taking the rotation and all the other bits and pieces. It's really buzzing at the moment, and of course results make that easier. We shall see where we end up. Looking at the table, Colin, third in the table, 1 point behind Wrexham with the game in hand. I think we overtook Birmingham in the goals scored tally last night as well. And when you consider the amount of money Birmingham spent this season, it shows you the great start that Wycombe Wanderers have made in what is a hugely competitive league. Cambridge United get their second successive win, having been winless before that, and we're starting to see things changing. We talked about the Burton manager being fired now, and there's change there. So look, this league's going to be tough whoever you're playing, and to get the sequence of results that Wycombe have done so is a credit to everyone involved.
And really nice that fans can expect almost goals now to be scored. I remember last week you were saying that you didn't know what the odds were for a 0-0 against Peterborough, which turned out to be correct, of course. But 16-1, by the way, I looked it up.
Yeah, well, if you back that, then you didn't win. So I'd love to know the odds on a substitute scoring a 9-minute hat trick in the second half. So that was great to watch too.
Don't have those figures to hand, unfortunately, but I can certainly look it up for next week. But that's encouraging for the visit of Leyton Orient this Saturday to Adams Park, because fans will be, I guess, confident that they'll see goals.
Yeah, you would hope so. And I think, like I say, look, the style of play and the way that Wycombe move the ball through the thirds now is very different to how Wycombe have played sort of in the last 10 or so years. And that's it's not being disparaging about how Wycombe used to play. I think it's two very, very different situations. Of course, it was a hugely successful spell for the club, but the way that Wycombe are moving the ball around now, and we have the average age of the squad slightly younger. I think we have a really pacey front three. The midfield three are ticking as well, so I think it is really good to watch. But Burton played some really good stuff last night. We've seen teams like Crawley come and move the ball really well and try and play through the thirds as well. But if the results aren't there, then it doesn't really matter. Fans really only care about the result, and second to that is the style. And at the moment, Wycombe are finding a really good blend of the two things.
You mentioned the squad rotation, and really nice the way that finishers, formerly substitutes, like Gareth McCleary, can come on and really make a difference.
Yes, yeah, I think if you're a defender who's been run around for 65, 70 minutes by the likes of Richard Kone, Gideon Kodua and Bez Labala, the last thing you need to see is someone like Gareth McCleary and Fred Onyedinma coming on to stretch you even more with fresh legs as well. But, Gareth McCleary is in the form of his life, I think, for us. Certainly in his spell at Wycombe Wanderers, he's been excellent. You can see why Jack Grimmer calls him, the Benjamin Button of football. I still don't believe he's 37, and certainly against Peterborough as well. Fantastic performance, and it's great to see him playing with a smile on his face. And it's not just him, Richard Kone, Dan Udo, Bez Labala, Kieran Sadler, who's picked up a knock, he's not been in the squad recently as well. But these are guys; they're all contributing, they're all enjoying their football, and and if you're coming to Adams Park for home games, you certainly enjoy watching it as well.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Because you could list, literally the whole team who've got great performances in them and great stories about them as well.
Yes, yeah, that's the great thing about Wycombe. It's the characters as well, isn't it? It's how you, how you arrive at the club. There's a huge amount of due diligence done on character and everything else, and you've got to be a certain sort of character to fit into the squad at Wycombe, and you can see the benefits of that now. Like I said earlier on, how the squad are all pulling together for each other. Having Bez on commentary last Saturday, there was no one more delighted than him for Richard Kone to get his hat trick. These are guys that are competing for those starting berths, and also the gaffer makes the substitutions now. Around the 60-minute mark to 70-minute mark. So when you are coming on, you've got a huge chunk of time to really impress and score goals. And Richard Kone in his post-match interview crediting the players who started the match for their contributions in wearing down those defenders as well. And it's so when players do steal the headlines with a hat-trick, it's great for us as well because it gives us the headlines, but equally when they're so sort of empathetic to their teammates and the situation, and they're able to give credit to everybody, that's a sign of great character and a squad that's really putting together.
And as you say, third in the table, just to point outside the automatic positions. And I know, for a while you've been saying the magic sort of 10-game mark is a good way of gauging where the team are. And it seems to take a while to get there, but we're on 11 games now, so we've passed that. And it's so pleasing to be in such a positive situation with points, with goals scoring and winning games, obviously, and being unbeaten.
Yeah, and long may it continue. Runs and momentum are massive in sport. We say that all the time. And, there'll be teams that are on really bad runs thinking how they're going to bust their way out of it. And there's teams like us on really good runs who are going to be working incredibly hard to make sure that we're still talking about those runs that are being extended. And, full credit to Matt Bloomfield and his staff for getting us into this position. But as they will tell you, we don't win anything in October. There's no prize for being in the top 3 or the top 2 in October. It's where you are in the first weekend of May that counts, and everything will be pointing towards that.
Brilliant speech. Enjoy the game on Saturday.
I will do. Cheers, Colin.
Great chatting to Phil. As always, he'll be bringing you full match commentary from Adams Park on Saturday. Don't forget to check out Wanderers TV as well, where you can hear more from the manager as well. Speaking after the game at Burton, he talks more about Luke Leahy. You'll also hear a full interview with Gideon Codger, who Phil spoke to afterwards as well.
Best feeling in the world, really. Been waiting for it for quite a while, so especially to get today and to top up with a win. Can't really say anything else, really.
The perfect reward for the gaffer for giving you the start.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to say thank you to the gaffer as well for putting trust in me. He seen me last season and brought me back, so yeah, you just got to keep growing, really, and yeah.
Second spell with the club, you found your feet last season, but really kicking on now this season.
Yeah, I think with the change of personnel and change of style of play, it's really suited most of us. I also got to give big prop to the gaffer as well for bringing everyone in, because the way we've gelled, you can see it like around the change room and just on the pitch. So yeah, it's really good.
There's a really good vibe about the place as well, but also, you know, the older players, the gaffer's has spoken about it in his post-match interview, the likes of Gareth McCleary, the Josh Goins, the older players helping you guys out too.
Yeah, they've helped me from day one, so yeah, coming back in was a no-brainer. So I'll try to receive as much help as I can just to score more goals and perform even better.
No doubt that first senior goal was on your bucket list for this loan spell. That's done now. What are you kicking on to next?
Just more goals, more better performances, and just making a stamp on this football game, really, and showing the world what I can do.
And talking about the result now as a team, the 3 points as well. It was a tough game, but pegged back twice, but still got there for the winner, 3-2, and the run continues.
Yeah, the run does continue on to Saturday. But yeah, today was really tough. I think especially after my goal, and then they conceded. Well, we conceded. Just to find our feet back again. And it was really tough, really.
I'm sure your phone's going to be buzzing all night now after that goal.
Right now.
I know. We'll see you on Saturday at Adams Park.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire. And on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Part 2 of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show still to come in the next hour. We'll hear from men's team manager Matt Bloomfield, and with Wycombe Wanderers women we'll chat to forward Kayla Potter, who has got a bit of a cold. Apparently there's something going around. Hopefully, unfortunately, it hasn't reached me yet. But first, with thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, we were talking a little earlier on about strength in depth and having a good bench. We've got one of the finishers coming up. We were due to be chatting to former assistant manager Richard Dobson this week, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, for him, he's been doing some property business in Spain. It's currently not convenient to chat to us, but we'll be speaking to him in the coming weeks, and I'm very pleased to say, coming off the bench in a finisher, an impact player, is the vice chair of Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, John D. Taylor. Hello, sir.
Good evening, Colin. My usual role coming off the bench.
An impact player, that's what they call you?
Yeah, that's not what they called me 60-odd years ago when I played.
Well, hopefully you made an impact.
Delighted to be with you. And sorry, I was talking to our dear friend Dobbo during the week, and he thought everything was all sorted before. But anyway, the good news is he will be back on your show in a few weeks' time. And good news for us is that he's also coming to our dinner, as is Gareth Ainsworth. And as I put on our Facebook page today, the trio with Matt Bloomfield are reunited. I had to be careful how I did the headline when I said that Gareth and Dobbo are coming back to Adams Park, and I could just imagine the people reading that and thinking, what on earth has Matt Bloomfield done wrong? After all, well, let's be fair, they're only in third place, aren't they? So, knowing what happens in football, anything could have happened there, couldn't it?
No, absolutely, but their return is coming at a really good time, and I'm sure they're both really proud of what their former captain has achieved.
Yeah, they were both, I think, instrumental in guiding Matt to the position. in that they wanted him to get some experience, which he did obviously at Colchester, and then of course when they went on their way, he was the obvious man, and blow me down, he's certainly done the job, hasn't he?
No, absolutely. And one of Richard Dobson's big focuses, which we'll chat to him more about when he's on the show, but he's sort of bringing youngsters through, and the current team is really, reaping the benefits of that as well.
Yeah, Dobbo, strangely enough, I thought Dobbo would actually have been the person that Wycombe would have looked to for the academy, which he did very successfully in the early days of it. I think Jordan Ibe came through him, Matt Phillips came through, and Matty Cash were all protégés of Dobbo. And if you think how much they raised to their respective clubs in further moves down the line, it was a pretty financial benefit to a lot of people. So but I mean, Dobbo is a great number two in the sense that I think people look at him and say, well, he's not going to be harking on behind my back, trying to get me out so that he can get the job. And I think that's why Gareth and Dobbo work so well together, for so long.
Because you hear, don't you, of managers that not really given time, but that pair were definitely, obviously given the time and did great things at the club.
Yeah, I'm just putting together at this very moment the video inserts for our dinner. Plug again, November the 15th. And when we're looking back at 30 years of life in the Football League, but you've got to say that the last 10 or 12 years, which obviously was the Dobbo and Gaza time, there were so many ups and downs. It was quite incredible. And, you've only got to look back to 2015 when they were one defeat away from going out of the Football League. And, Matt McClure scored the third goal. Bristol Rovers lost. Wycombe retained their position. And then it was up with Gareth and Dobbo, Wembley appearances, and of course, the championship. And we're going to relive this story in a few weeks' time. And when you see the video, even though you know the story, it still makes a terrific impact. It's been an unbelievable decade in an unbelievable 30 years for the football club.
And as you say, it's incredible the things you forget. I was reading an article recently about Craig McHale-Smith's goals, someone else you've had on the show a couple of times, and it's fantastic to kind of relive those moments, and obviously Akin Fenwa's goal contributions, and as you mentioned, some of that time and struggles, and when Gareth used to do, he was sort of attaching the nets in the training ground himself and buying them as well.
Well, and in fact, we at the Ex-Players Association were asked if we could provide goalposts for the training ground, because they only had one pair of goalposts, which meant when they were doing goalkeeping training or defensive training and the attackers were doing something, they had to stand and wait until that part of the pitch was finished being used and they could come on. I mean, when you think of the change, we spent a few bob, and we were very pleased to do that, because our aim is to raise money to help ex-players, but in that case we were helping current players, and that should never ever be forgotten, especially while the new regime come in and are spending hundreds of thousands of pounds now on the new training ground at Harlington. I mean, as you know, I think you talked about it last week, the new Supreme pitch which has been laid down there, which is exactly the same as the pitch at Adams Park. All of this, the change from as I say, one step going out of the Football League to now having a multi-million-pound training centre, and who knows what by the end of this season.
So tell us about some of the other guests that you've got coming to the 14th annual dinner, which is on the 15th.
Thank you very much. You mentioned goal scorers. We have got hold of Scott McLeish, who you had on the programme a couple of weeks ago. And I like to look at kind of quirky things to go along with the main theme of the evening. And we've had some great goal scorers in our time. I mean, obviously, pre-Football League, nobody will ever challenge Tony Horseman with his 700 and odd goals. But in the EFL, obviously, Akinfenwa, who reigns supreme, but he is not the top scorer in one single season, nor is Nathan Tyson, nor is Stuart Bevan. These are names that you think automatically, but the man that still holds that title and will hold it for the first 30 years of life in the Football League is Scott McLeish. So we'll be having a chat with him to see if he can remember any of those goals, because, again, a bit like Tony Horseman, he has scored so many. I mean, he's played over 1,000 games now. He's scored over 300 goals. And although he's assistant manager at Leverstock Green, he still turns out, like me, coming off the bench when required.
And I think what was really special, I was fortunate enough to be at last year's dinner as well, and it was great to have that table full of those players who got the team into the Football League in the first place.
Yeah, and we've got those coming back as well. Martin O'Neill, dear old Martin, has been our most faithful supporter ever since we started these dinners, and he has promised to be there again. And there will be quite a few members of his 93-94 squad there, including people like Matt Crossley and, of course, Glyn Creaser, who, until his unfortunate incident, was a real go-ahead member of our ex-players committee. I mean, Glyn, again, you had him on the show right at the start of this season to kick off this looking ahead to the dinner angle. And the thing that struck me most about the interview you had with him, which he repeated to me afterwards, was when the fact that he was able to say to his father, "I've been asked to turn professional. What should I do?" And he was 34 at the time. And his dad said, "Son, you've talked about it ever since you could first chat. Take that opportunity." And of course, Glyn did, and he was there at Wembley, winning the promotion playoff in that first season in the league. Just an incredible guy. And if you talk to any of that squad from around that particular time, the man they all look up to, without question, is Glyn Creaser. And I'm delighted, again, like with Scott, that Glyn will be one of our guests at the dinner as well.
And really nice to go back even further. We had Alan Gain on the show last week chatting about his memories, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to the lunch. There's a pattern developing here that recently as well, where stars from the 50s and 60s were gathered, and great to sort of share their memories, and they really enjoy coming together with other generations of ex-players as well.
Well, wasn't it great at the dinner at the Bull at Bisham just a few weeks ago, which we hold for the older members of the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, who don't necessarily want to be out till midnight on a Friday night, but are very happy to be escorted to a lunch. And included in that was 92-year-old Dennis Syret, who has got his wits about him, Unfortunately, his legs don't necessarily respond to his brain, but he, 92 years old, but he's not even our oldest member. Len Worley was there. Now, Len and Dennis, as you remember, played in the 1957 Cup final all those years ago. There can't be many other clubs in the whole of the country that can bring together such a disparate band of people, 90-year-olds, right up to those who've only just retired from playing. And we've got a couple more surprises which we're going to reveal over the next couple of weeks. But I can tell you one of them, every single modern Wycombe player will gasp and say, I want to hold his hand, shake his hand anyway, I don't know about hold it, when we reveal that particular name. But I'm going to keep you on tenterhooks for that one.
Oh, fantastic. And also, well, I'm sure you're very well aware as well, that they all say what a special club Wycombe is, and that there's, that they've got a real family feel that keeps them coming back as well.
I must admit that when I was brought up on Wycombe Wanderers, the friendliness of the players that I was able to see as a supporter, people like Dennis Atkins, Ray Howson, who was at our lunch the other day, and a bit later on, people like John Maskell. They're all special people, and I don't know how it's come across that way, or how it's been achieved, because we've had quite a lot of managers now, I think 29 or 30, all with their own different ideas and different plans, and yet that spirit somehow pervades everything that has been done and is still being done. And somebody was just saying to me yesterday that it was my friend John Bignell, was saying he was talking to Aaron Morley on Saturday, and Aaron said he couldn't believe the team spirit that there was here. Now, he's here on loan, the same as Freddie Potts last year. They really, really loved their experience, and that is a fantastic thing to be able to say to people. And this is why West Ham, you just talked about it earlier, Carlton Cole saying that, Freddie Potts had such a good time. They were more than happy for Kadua to come, and hopefully that is going to be a theme of things till we're playing them in the Premier League.
Absolutely. And important to stress as well, the ex-players dinner is not just for ex-players. Fans can come along and enjoy the occasion as well.
Well, this is what we've tried to do, because after each of the dinners a few years ago, lots of people came up to me and said, "Oh, if I'd have known about that, we'd have come if we're allowed." It's not an exclusive thing. We want, as with all those things we've just been mentioning, we want players and fans to mix, to get to know each other, for fans to be able to say, "Oh, I sat next to so and so this year, and what a great guy." It's part and parcel of our mission, in the same way as we help raise money for various club things and charities, of course. And while I'm talking about charities, we just must remind you that this year's charity is Alzheimer's Society, which is particularly pertinent to footballers. We've had some more revealed just this week who are suffering from that and have suffered from it. And we are hoping we're going to raise a terrific amount at the dinner, as we have at our golf do and our quiz, to be able to donate a really, really healthy balance to Alzheimer's by the turn of the year.
So it's not too far away now, 15th of November, and remind us how we can find out more if we'd like to attend.
Yeah, if you look on our Facebook page, Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Facebook page, there's a link to myself, and there's even more important, a link to the man that takes the money, Vince Faulkner, who will be very pleased to hear from you. I say it's expensive. It's actually £55 for non-members. It's £50 for ex-players. You get fantastic entertainment. You've already seen, we've been announcing it slowly, the people who are going to be there to actually be guests and talking and being interviewed. But we've got a lot more players, as I said, going back from the 50s all the way through to those who've just stopped playing. So if you haven't got a ticket and you want a ticket, give me a buzz, message me, or look on our Facebook page, and you can get in touch with Vince.
It really is a special evening as well, and well worth the visit. Thank you so much for your time. Brilliant to chat to you.
Lovely to talk to you as always, Colin. Take care.
You too. John Taylor, who's the Vice Chair of the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Player Association, speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound. Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, some community news, how the club's sponsoring the Christmas light switch on and helping to launch the Royal British Legion's Poppy Appeal. That's coming up this weekend. We'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield as well. But first, we'll continue following the Chair Girls. Wycombe Wanderers women without a game this week. They were due to play Reading, but their opponents have a cup game, so they're in the hunt for a friendly. Next play next weekend against Oxford City in the league on the back of two cup defeats. Brilliant to catch up with Kayla Potter, who's a forward, new signing, and has already been scoring plenty of goals for the Chair Girls, as you'll hear, including many in one particular game. But great to chat to her and find out her journey through football and how long she's been playing.
I have been playing since I must be 2 or 3 years old, basically when I could first walk. My dad was my first coach, and he was always cheering me on from the sidelines. And then I was playing in clubs in Canada. And then from there, I moved to America, and I played for a community college there. And then when my time finished up there, I ended up in England and joined for Hounslow, which then became the London Bees for 2 seasons. And then I found my way here at Wycombe.
And what's that experience been like? Because you must have picked up so many sort of different things from playing in different countries.
It's been amazing, all the people that I've met and all the coaches who have coached me along the way, and all the girls, fantastic community in football. But all the playing styles are really different, I've come to learn, whereas in versus Canada versus America versus England, I've had to adapt and change to each team I've been on.
And did you always want to play in the position that you are now, or has that been a sort of natural progression as well?
I started as a defender when I was younger. I was quite an aggressive and quick player. And then once my dad stopped coaching me and I had more of a proper coach, they went, now you should be up top. And I've stayed up there since, but I've played most positions except for goalkeeper. I don't think that's a good spot for me.
I think you have to be a certain type of person to be a goalkeeper, don't you?
Oh, completely. I don't know how they do it. I give them 100% props.
And have you noticed in your progression just the popularity and growth of women's football generally?
I have indeed. I think it's fantastic. And it's interesting seeing it in the different countries, because the bigger it gets in England, the bigger it gets in America, and the bigger it gets in America, the bigger it gets in England, and they kind of feed off each other. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, but it's fantastic to see.
So tell us a bit more about how your move to Wycombe came about.
Well, I had finished playing with the London Bees, and I was ready for a change. And so I was trialing with a whole bunch of teams ranging from Chesham and Ascot and Hashtag, and just wasn't quite finding the right fit until one of an old teammate of mine, Puds, who is playing for Wycombe now, said, what if we go down a couple of tiers lower and we try to get promotion? I went, I'm happy to do anything. I'm a really open player and I like playing with Puds. And so we joined with Reading, and then quickly decided that Reading wasn't the place to be, unfortunately. It was a missed call. And at that time, Carl reached out to Puds and said, I think you would be great on this team. And Puds said, well, I'd love to come, but I've got this amazing forward. Do you think she could come with me? And Carl was super open about it. And as soon as we met the girls and was here for a few training sessions, we thought, yep, this is where we want to be this season.
Oh, fantastic. It's great that sort of two of you came. That was a fantastic sort of bonus.
It was a 2-for-1 deal. I'd never heard of Wycombe, but I'm very happy to be here now.
I was going to say, what were your first impressions?
The girls, definitely. The girls were my first impression, just how open they were and how welcoming they were. And then I think Carl and Matt were just top-notch quality coaches, and I was looking for that. I wanted to learn and grow, even though this is a lower tier for me. And I wasn't getting that at some of the other clubs we had trialed at. And so that's definitely what drew me in, is because I want to continue my learning in football. I want to grow. I want to become a better player. And I thought that these guys will be able to help me do that. And just seeing the progression and the passion from all the girls, it was definitely a welcoming with open arms.
You seem to have settled in so well and really hit the ground running, especially with your goals.
Yes, yeah, that first game definitely put some confidence in myself, and I think the other girls kind of saw it. And then from there on, it's been a little bit rocky, but still quite a good goal average from, I think the entire team is about 3 goals per game at the moment.
Oh, we should talk about the 13-1 where you got 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was not expected at all. I like to go into games thinking that they're going to be better than us. I play better that way. And so to come out with 5 goals, and I think it was 45 minutes, was quite an accomplishment, and it was a good time. I think because they happened so quickly, it wasn't really comprehending in my brain. Like, I couldn't even think of goal celebrations to do because they were just happening that quickly.
And a great boost, as you say, for everyone and the whole team as well, that to be able to be that prolific, and also to obviously get 13 goals in a game is fantastic, and 5 for yourself. That can't happen too often.
No, it doesn't happen often at all. And I think it was fantastic for everybody to get goals under their feet such early in the season. It's just a great confidence booster for sure.
It seems like things are coming together really well for the team, and with the new arrivals, obviously, including yourself, and there's a real mix of youth and experience in the team too. Yes, I think that's fantastic, is to have that balance. If you have too much experience, you get a lot of heads knocking, and if you don't have enough experience, you've got no leaders. But we've got a really nice balance of a few under-18s coming up to join us, as well as some more experienced players who have played at different leagues and different teams. And so we've got a great balance there. And speaking to Carl ahead of the season, he said he was looking for more creativity and attacking this season. That certainly seems to have happened. I think so. I believe Jess is also a new player, and she is a fantastic footballer. She's definitely got that creativity. I think I bring a lot of speed and a little bit of experience to the team. So I think together, as well as E up top, all 3 of us, we just combine really well. I was going to say, some great wingers and obviously defensively as well, doing very well. Yes, yep. We've struggled the last couple of games, but excluding those ones, we've had a couple clean sheets as well, which is fantastic. But yeah, we've got a strong back 4 and a strong top 3. Midfield is still kind of like working together to find their groove, but once they do, we are going to be unbeatable, I believe. No, absolutely, and hopefully those 2 cup defeats won't derail your league campaign too much. Exactly, yeah. At training last night, we kind of came together and we said, we're drawing a line and we are going upwards from here because this can't happen anymore. And we had a fantastic practice. Just everybody was super sharp and focused, and I think it's where we should be. It feels like a really good point in the season. The team is making such good progress, and obviously promotion is the goal this season. It is indeed, yeah. We are trying to focus on individual games at the moment and just find exactly what we need to do to get to promotion without putting too much pressure on it, because I think with a few young girls on the team, it is a big goal to have, but that is definitely the end goal. It's really interesting as well, speaking to some of the other players, because they're not too concerned about who the opposition is necessarily. The focus is really on themselves and yourselves. Is that something that you feel as well? I feel that way as well, but I think for a different reason. I haven't played in this tier before. I haven't heard of a lot of these teams, and so I don't know anything about them. And so I'm walking in with no knowledge, which is a nice way to be, because you go in with your best self thinking, this could be, I think, Oxford City, I think, is who we play next. And the girls are going, yeah, this is going to be a hard opposition. And so I'm walking into every game with the same mindset of got to bring my best and just do everything we can to beat this team. And really nice to get such great support as well. I know there was a big crowd for the FA Cup game, and comparatively for the rest of the season. And it must be really nice to have young girls, especially, kind of looking up to you as well, and with your goals, and perhaps wanting to emulate that too. Oh yeah, the young girls make my day. They came up with chants, and they were in the dressing room beforehand. But it is great to have such like a nice, wholesome fan base supporting you on. It's unbeatable to hear them in the background when you score a goal or when you make a great tackle. Because I imagine it works the other way as well. I'm sure there are players that inspire you as well.
There definitely are, yeah. I've played with a lot of top quality girls over the years. A lot of them being Canadian, I think, because that was when I was younger and looking up to girls the most. But I think of those guys a lot, and they definitely pushed me to become my better self. And
it's always interesting to ask, if you have individual goals and obviously collectively for the team as well that you're looking to achieve throughout the rest of the season.
I think personally, being a striker, I have a number of goals I'd like to achieve and a number of assists I'd like to achieve. But those team goals are also super important of, clean sheets and just working hard and respecting each other. The simple basics are definitely on my mind. I like to come away after every game thinking of something that I can improve on for next game.
Sure. And what's it like for you sort of combining, football, playing and training, but also your kind of outside life as well?
I'd say that football has been such a huge part of my life for all of my life that I do work certain things around football. And so I work outside and I also have a bit of uni, but none of those things conflict with football. And I tell everybody football does come first for me. So I think those things kind of have to work around football rather than football working around them.
And do you find it a real release when you're playing and training just to sort of forget about everything else and just really enjoy that?
Oh, 100%. I love football. It clears my mind and it gives me space to think or space to not think. And yeah, it's definitely a good time for me.
Well, it's been brilliant to speak to you. Wish you all the best for the rest of the season. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's nice to talk to you as well.
Brilliant speaking to Kayla Potter, who's a Wycombe Wanderers women forward. Now let's catch up with manager Matt Bloomfield for the men's team, of course, on a brilliant run. 9 games unbeaten in the league, going for a 5th straight win at home in League One on Saturday against Leyton Orient as well. Let's find out what that could be down to.
Yeah, I think it's just accumulation of a multitude of things. I think that the players have been working, incredibly hard for a while, now since we've been back in pre-season. The amount of work that's gone into, the way we're trying to play, the way we're trying to be in and out of possession. It's, football is not an easy industry to be a part of. It takes an incredible amount of hard work to get any win, let alone a few in a row. So, yeah, we're really, really pleased with the work that the players have done since we returned. And we just need to keep that hunger and desire because, as I've said before, pride comes before a fall. And the minute we get ahead of ourselves, we'll find ourselves falling. So we have to make sure that we enter every game with the same desire that we have done so far this season.
And other aspects that have pleased you the most, whether it's goals coming from different sources or just the style of play?
I think it's the identity's been pleasing, and especially considering we've had probably so many games, including the cup games, that have meant we've had to rotate and utilise the squad. The identity has remained sort of fairly similar throughout those performances, which has been pleasing. It's it's obviously been nice to score some goals. We want to, we've said a number of times, we want to be an attacking team. We want to play on the front foot and try and get our forward players in the game as often as possible. And there's no certainty around that the way you play, but we're trying to play that identity, and it's been pleasing to see that come out through the different players who have been able to pick up the mantle for each game.
And I know you spoke in your post-match interview on Tuesday night about the way that those that are coming off the bench are making a real impact, and as Phil mentioned as well, it must be great to have that for defenders who've been run ragged for 70 minutes in the game, and to bring on the likes of G-Mac and Fred as well.
Yeah, I just feel like the game, as it's evolved over the years, especially since I sort of finished playing, it's become League One is such an athletic league. I think that the money that's in it and the games that are coming into our country at the top, there's some real good players that are dropping down into playing into League One now. And I just feel like we need to keep that energy and intensity about us. We spoke a lot about it over the summer as a coaching staff, and we really felt that at the end of last season, we were able to rotate through the busy spell we had, and we wanted to keep that going into this season. It also, heightens the competition. It heightens the pushing for places and the respect amongst the group, and the competition for places, and the heightened competition that we've had it seems to be pushing people. So, so far so good. It's obviously tough to deliver the news to players if they're not starting or finishing, and they've been very respectful of that so far. So, yeah, it's obviously for us, we feel that the way we play, we need that energy and intensity at the top of the pitch. And so far that's been okay. So we just need to make sure we keep trying to make those correct decisions.
Well, we've spoken before about your levels of headache. How is your head currently?
Aching.
Does it make it harder to make those decisions when they're playing really well, or is it easier in a way if they're not playing well and then you still have to make changes?
No, I'd much rather than playing well and have these headaches, mate. It's I joke. It's in jest. It's a lot nicer to have this kind of problem than trying to find a team to win a game when the boys are playing. And the energy and the camaraderie, especially the boys in the front line, you see them celebrating each other's successes. We saw on Saturday Richard got his hat trick, but Bez, Skids, and Dan Udo were the ones right at the forefront celebrating for Rich. They're really tight knit. They're quite the young boys that we've got at the top of the pitch, and they're learning off GMAC all the time, and they're feeding off each other's energy, which is nice. So now, in jest, I say about headache, but it's lovely options to have, because if we want to be a decent team, then we've got to make sure we've got competition for places.
And another choice facing you on Saturday with Josh being missing through suspension.
Yeah, and it's actually going to be a really tough decision to make, Colin, because we've got real good competition for midfield places. Obviously Lukey's come back from his injury and he's been fantastic, coming on as a finisher Saturday and earned his spot on Tuesday night, gets himself a goal. Cam missed out on Tuesday night, but has been absolutely fantastic for us. Butch has been brilliant since he came in January, and Tyreek, I think, against Aston Villa was absolutely brilliant as well, and has shown some good signs for us, and we're itching to get in more minutes as well. So yeah, there's definitely competition in the middle of the pitch as well. So a couple of decisions to make ahead of the weekend. How much do we freshen up, and who replaces Josh in the middle of the park.
And do you look so much about the opposite opposition? Because obviously you faced teams recently like Crawley and Burton, obviously, and now Leyton Orient, who are sort of down the end of the table. But as you touched on earlier, League One being so competitive and so tight, literally any sort of result could be possible.
Yeah, I genuinely believe it's the most competitive League One I've ever seen. I genuinely believe it's going to be tight because, if you look at the points totals, there's not a huge amount splitting the top and the bottom really, or especially from the middle of the league. There's not a huge amount of points, so I don't look at that. I look at the qualities of our opposition. I look at the players that Orient have got. I look at the quality of manager. Richie's been done a top job at a number of clubs for a number of years now. He's proven manager. He always has his teams up and at him. He always has them playing good football. So we know that it's going to be a tough game, mate. I don't think that any game this year is going to be anything other than just highly competitive and based on moments that can go for or against you that can really influence the result. So we absolutely have to be on our game on Saturday against a real good level of opposition who we really respect.
I'm sure extra attractive for fans to come down on Saturday as well, who perhaps maybe have not been for a while as well, and are seeing how well the team's doing, and they'll probably see goals. We said that last week, and they were against Peterborough, of course, and there were goals. But I think there's 16-1, by the way, for a 0-0 against Peterborough on Saturday. I didn't put any money on, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be lovely to see our loyal supporters who are with us home and away and travelling up and down the country and being with us through thick and thin are just. It's just amazing to see those familiar faces, the same faces, and it'd be lovely to add some more to them. It'd be lovely to get more inside Adams Park. Like I say, we're trying to do the best job we can and play with, an identity that we believe will entertain people. That's what we want to do, and we'd love to have more people cheering us on. Of course, we would. So yeah, look, it'd be lovely to get a few more inside Adams Park. It's a special place to play football. I've been really fortunate to be involved in this football ground for a number of years, and when we get more in the ground, it certainly heightens the atmosphere.
Great to hear from the manager. Don't forget, if you are going to the game on Saturday, the club, along with the High Wycombe branch of the Royal British Legion and Spirit of Normandy Trust, launching the High Wycombe Poppy Appeal. There'll be an on-field ceremony as well. You might have heard this week too that the club are sponsoring the Christmas light switch on in the town. So we talked about the Ex-Players Association annual dinner on the 15th. That takes place from midday on the 16th. There'll be a stall in the town and players involved in that as well.